another episode of the C-Suite Edge. I'm your host, John Light. I'm also the founder and CEO of Sabretooth Recruiting. And today we're going to dive into an industry segment, an area of space I'm not terribly familiar with, but I've read a lot about. So joining me today is Eduardo Carrasquilla. And Eduardo is responsible for a startup called Quipu Bank. Eduardo, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, John.
I was hoping when we get started here, because this is a space a lot of people may have awareness of but don't have a lot of detail in. Could you give us maybe a 90-second rundown of your background and what brought you to this startup in Quipu Bank and what you all are trying to do in the marketplace?
Perfect. So I'm an engineer with a master's degree in finance and an MBA. And after working in the financial sector for many years, I understood that there was a massive gap on people that were undeserved to get, the services that these companies were trying to give them, but there were not enough information or enough, risk placement that they wanted to have. So basically, what I understood in that moment is that, there's got to be another way. And I've been working for 2 years now in Quipu Bank, trying to solve this problem, trying to get people into this, people from the informal economy to get credit and other solutions.
Interesting, and it's very needful. I know especially when you talk about getting to the informal to formal, and you talk about microeconomics and micro loans and things of that nature. So, you just mentioned a problem you are trying to solve, and this is a little different from how we typically structure and take the podcast. So I'd really appreciate it maybe if you could expand, because I'm taking that as the biggest problem you guys are attacking and working to solve. I was wondering if you could expand maybe and give a couple of real life examples to kind of bring home what you're doing.
Sure. So, first of all, one of the things that I didn't tell you about my background is I'm Colombian. I come from a very poor country with a lot of things to solve, but a country, full of people that are dreamers and want to have a better life in their future. Everyone is trying to work every day to see how they can get money to their families and how they can grow in their careers or how they can get money into their houses. Understanding this problem, when I understood this problem, I understood it first of all, because of my family. I come from a family that has a lot of needs, and what happens there is that I really understood that it's a daily thing that you have to solve. It's not something that it's big. Small changes are the ones that are at the end the ones that can change lives. So basically, here in Quipu Bank, we understood that there are different problems that we wanted to address. The first one is how can we get a solution that understands the client? And basically, one of our co-founders, she's a Harvard postdoctorate in data, and with her and my two other co-founders, we decided that we needed to focus our company in trying to understand these clients. So basically, everything was data, and how we could tell these clients on how they can give us this information so that we can understand them better and give them access to credit. Why is this different to what banks and other institutions are doing? Because basically what we do is we get into informal, to the information that is not available all the time, especially on this credit bureaus that people are trying to make the risk assessment. So we go farther. So we try to understand their messages. We try to understand how they intercommunicate between them. We try to understand how they like what's their business, how this business is making profit, and how much they need in terms of making the day for that business. So that's
It
one.
really sounds like, let's say, it really sounds like you all have to get face to face, in person, with your customers. More so than, so much banking, at least here in the United States these days, is just handled online. But when you're talking about people in an informal economy, I would figure there's not a whole lot of a digital footprint where, credit histories or business histories that you can look at, and things on social media you can draw from. So how do you bridge that gap and get into the community to find these people and qualify them from I know we just touched on it a little bit, but how do you really get into the nitty gritty that somebody who's not in your space would understand, right? Because there's no credit history. There may or may not be a bank account, for example, things of that nature. I'm assuming it's a very people intensive process.
Well, it is not actually. But yeah, that takes me to the second thing.
Okay.
How can we make this easy? How can we make this easy, and how can we get the solutions that are in our hands now? So one of the things that we need to understand, especially in Latin America, and I think around the world, is that, for example, in Colombia, there is more than one cell phone from every adult. And what happened with those cell phones is that they carry so much information from everyone, that when that information is available, then we can use it for, some people use it for the wrong purpose, but we try to use it to solve this purpose and see how we can give them the opportunity to be able to enter into this economy. And one of the things that is important there is that specifically in Colombia, we have around 28 people that are in the working space. From those 28 people, around 16 million people work in this informal economy. 16 million people, they go into these micro businesses that they don't have access to credit, that they don't have access to for banking, and that's something that is already starting to be solved, but it wasn't solved 3 years ago. And the other thing is, there is people that doesn't have the education to go into a formal bank and tell them, these are my results, these are my sales, this is my history. So they don't have a credit history. They don't have a credit history. So basically, John, what happened is, in Colombia, there are around 4 million micro businesses that don't have access to credit, that they don't have, in some cases, access to a formal bank. And of course, this is people that is starting with their businesses, that they need working capital to be able to get their businesses into a formal press, into a formal position, and to be able to give, their families support on the everyday basis. So that's what we're solving. And one of the things that happen now is that we are able to give loans to more than 200 people every day that in another way they were not going to be able to get any other kind of credit for them. Today in Colombia.
So, question, Eduardo. I mean, when you're at a bank, yeah.
Please, John, continue. I'm the bank.
Yeah.
So
that's okay. And we edit a lot of this stuff, so don't fret about it. If we have any issues, I'm writing it on the timestamp. So, every bank has stuff that comes in one side, investors, depositors, whatnot. You get your capital. And then you have it go out to people, you loan it out, you have fees, you get interest, hopefully get your principal back, and so on. Which side of that equation has been the biggest challenge in setting up Quipu Bank so you can get in there and help people in this informal economy?
Well, what happens in Latin America is that everyone knows that there is a big problem that needs to be solved. But basically, no
Mm-hmm.
one thought that there was going to be, these brave entrepreneurs that wanted to solve it. And basically, that's what we're doing. We are solving something that for years no one could take care, not because they didn't want it to, just because uh, these companies didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
information. And what happens now, John, is that with all the technology that is available, we are able to bring more solutions to these clients. We are able to trust what the information that they are giving us, and we are able to give them the risk assessment that they deserve based on the information that they have available. Uh, Let me give
Mm-hmm.
you one big example. So today in Colombia we have 3 million people that came from Venezuela. So this is people that they don't have any connections in Colombia, they don't have jobs, but they do have to support their families. What's their solution for them? They start small businesses usually, and what happens with this
Right.
is that this is people that is just getting into Colombia. They don't have information. They don't, no one trusts them. So basically, it's very hard for them to be able to be able to start. Kipu, what we're trying to do different is we tell them, okay, what information can you give me so I can analyze you? And the true story is that now we're able to give uh, on those applicants more than 5% of the applicants that come from this background. We're able to give them a loan,
Mm-hmm.
and this number is just growing and growing every time we learn more about this population, how they behave, and how much uh, potential and growth they are bringing to our country, which is a great thing. I believe that
Mm-hmm.
that the people from Venezuela and the other foreign people, they're just bringing all of their knowledge, and there's more people that want to work and do good things than otherwise. So basically, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help them to make a good landing, help them to start a financial history with us, and why not continue with them as they grow in our country.
Mm-hmm. No, no, I think smart idea. I mean, you're locking in customers for life, and helping along the way because you've helped them. You lock them in for life, right? As a
Yes.
customer. So let me ask you this, Eduardo. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you and learn more, I know they can go to kipubank.com, which for people's knowledge is spelled anglicized, if I can put it this way, Quipu bank.com. But if somebody wanted to get in touch with you and have a conversation about the opportunity, about the startup, about your growth in Latin America, what's the best way for them to find you?
Yeah, so basically, well, there are several ways. You can find me through through our webpage that you already told everyone, which is www.quipu.com.co. That's important to have at the end. But also there are other
Mm-hmm.
ways. You can look me through LinkedIn. I'm with the name Eduardo Carrasquilla there, and you'll see me because it's easy to find. I went to Babson, so you're probably going to be able to find me there very easy.
Super, Eduardo. I appreciate it, man. And look, I want to keep my finger on the pulse of this. I think this is a noble endeavor. And I wish you the best with it, man. And we're going to do what we can to get the word out to folks too, because I've read about micro lending and informal economies in places like Africa and in South Asia and these other regions where people doing what you're doing can have such a massive, outsized impact on people's lives. So again, I think it's a
It is.
noble effort, and wish you all the success. And just to reiterate, if somebody wants to find you, the best way probably is the website, quipu.com.co. So Quipu
Yes.
bank.com.co. So Eduardo Carrasquilla, thank you so much for joining us today.